and welcome to Trash to Track. Now in this episode I'm going to be looking at this Hornby Royal Scot that's been sent in by Neil. But worryingly the box is very light, and indeed unwrapping it proves that the chassis is not here, it's the body shell and tender. Now the chassis must be loose in the box somewhere, and digging around in the bubble wrap I find it with a load of other bits in this sandwich bag. Now Neil said he bought this off eBay and the previous person who took it to pieces. Now I'm having a quick look because these do suffer from Mazak rot, and I am worried that this model may be a victim. But having a look around it, it doesn't appear to have Mazak rot, although the wheels are extremely stiff to turn. They're not seated correctly in the chassis. There's all little bits everywhere. There's the idler gear. The motor and wiring loom is all in here as well, as is the front pony truck and a load of screws. That metal part there is the gearbox cover. So it really is trash, this model. It's in all sorts of bits and pieces. So I'm going to have a look at this for Neil and see if we can get it back running. Now Neil did say that the previous owners tried to modify the chassis and he doesn't believe this motor is the correct one. However, I think it is, but I think the motor plate is damaged. So I put the idler gear in. I have checked that idler gear, it is not split, but something is just not sitting right with this model. It's just not going together well. I'm just pushing it or putting it all back together, and yeah, it's just not sitting very well at all, and it is sticking up slightly. So I'm having a look, turning it round to see if it will seat correctly, but there's just something about this at the moment. And then the base plate, or sorry, the rear motor mounting bracket there, that's not holding the motor in place. The motor's able to move. So I'm going to test the motor with the battery leads to see if it's any good, and it is. The motor's spinning fine, so at least we know the motor's not dead. So before any reconstruction starts, I'm going to have to deconstruct this further, and I'm going to have a look at these wheels. So turning the model over, or the chassis over, I'm going to undo the screws that hold the base keeper plate in place, and I'm going to have a look at these wheels, because the centre wheels especially do not seem to be sitting correctly, and the base plate's been screwed down and it's actually bent. It's bent upwards, so it's not sitting flush as it should be. So I undo these 3 screws and lift that off. That middle screw is very long. I'm going to lift this off gently. There's the keeper plate. There's a few brake shoes broken off this, where somebody's taken this apart in the past. The pickups are actually wired through, but because the wire's been cut, I can remove that in its entirety, which does help with the maintenance. And as I thought, the middle wheel wasn't in properly. It just dropped in there when I pulled that off. There's a small bearing towards the gear. I don't know if you saw it, but there's a small thin bearing, and that wasn't in place properly. And once it's in place, I mean, it's still locking up, but that's a problem with the side rod, as you'll see in a moment. But yeah, the middle wheel, the small thin bearing wasn't sat correctly. And I'm just looking there where it's locking up, and it is this side. These side rods are very loose. They're not seated correctly either. So somebody's obviously took this apart in the past and has not put it back together correctly. So I'm just trying to... This side rod bracket, or the motion bracket, goes into a hole in the die-cast chassis. There we go. And it wasn't in there. It was resting just the wrong side of it. And now I move it, and it's moving. There's something, this side binding. It's a lot easier to push now that that bearing's in place. But this, there is something wrong with the side rods and the piston valves. So I'm going to remove the side rods using my hex nut driver. This is a 2.5mm hex nut driver. I'm going to remove the side rods from the wheels. It all needs cleaning anyway, so I am going to remove these and clean the wheels and pickups. And and I'm just going to remove that wheel, and then I'm going to test it again. And then there we go. So it's still stiff, so it wasn't that front wheel. So I basically take all the rods off until I can find the tight spot. And it's actually the cylinders. The cylinders are broken. You can see there they are split and they're not being held correctly. When I remove the screw, they come off in 2 halves. Now that should be 1 unit. So what was happening is the cylinders were drooping because they're broken and the piston rods weren't running very well through the holes. So the wheels all go back in and these turn very freely. Now they're all seated correctly, that is. So I'm happy that the chassis has not got Mazak rot and it's not bent. The motion bracket on this side of the chassis was actually glued in place. I couldn't get that out for love and money. But the one on the other side simply just fell out. So I had to get a new set of cylinders for this one. These are the new cylinders. These will need weathering, as these have not been weathered to match the weathered state of the loco. And I'm going to fit these and see if that gets rid of that tight spot when the model's running. So the piston rod goes in and then the motion brackets all clip in. Whoops, put the wheels out of the way there. So once they're all in place, I do the other side as well. And that is nowhere near as stiff as it was. It's still a little bit stiff, but before it was actually locking up completely. But it's not now. The cylinders are now in the correct position where they should be. So now I'm going to clean the wheels and axles, get rid of all the old lubrication with a cotton bud and methylated spirits. Clean all the wheel, like I said, the axles, the wheel backs and the wheel treads. Now the main driving wheels on this model weren't actually too bad. The pony wheels on the front of the loco had obviously picked up the majority of dirt in the past. But as you can see on that cotton bud, there's not a lot of dirt coming off this at all. So yeah, I'm just going to clean those and then obviously clean the centre driving wheel with the gear on it. I also checked the gear on the axle to make sure that's not split, and it's not, which is good. Once all the axles were back in place, the pickups were given a clean, and then the pickup base plate was put back on, making sure that all 6 pickups were making contact with the wheel backs. With having this wires broken on here made it a lot easier to maintain, because if not you have to lift that up and just kind of fold it out the way. Before I reassemble the base of the model, I'm going to put some oil on the axles because I've removed all the old lubrication, so it's very dry in here now. So just a small drop of oil on all the axles and the bearings. Make sure that all the wheels are running freely, which they are. The base plate was put back on and the wires were fed through the die-cast chassis and out the top, ready to be soldered up later on. And that rear axle's just fallen out there, which is typical. Just place that back in, making sure the bearings are where they should be. Then gentle pressure to push the base plate back down. And then that detail there with the brake blocks on was put back and everything was screwed back together. And then we can look at rebuilding the motor train, or the motor and gear train at the top. And then DCC fitting this model for Neil. So there's the base plate. This only goes on one way because there's a cutout for the gear to sit in. So it will only go on one way. And then the screws are retightened. Once the base plate was on, the side rods and motion was all rebuilt. Make sure you get the side rods on correctly. There's a small square representation of an oil box. This faces upwards. So once it was in place correctly, I find the crank pins and reapply these. Just gently turning them by hand for a start, and then tightening them up with a hex nut driver. The piston rod was put on after the spacer, and then the linkage was put on. And the linkage sits on a rectangular nodule on top of the crank pin, just to hold it in place. And then the smaller of the 3 crank pins, the smaller one, this is only like a tiny screw. The other 2 are shouldered so that the side rods turn correctly. And again, this was done up with the hex nut driver, and the same was done on the other side to rebuild the motion. So once both sides had been done, motion wise that is, I put it on the test track and give it a bit of a push to make sure it's not tight or catching like it was before. And this is very, very, it looks stiff on the video, but that is the drag from the pickups. But it is very, very free running, and this should run no problems at all. So now we can start rebuilding. This is the motor mount that screws in place to the rear of the chassis. This was taken off by me earlier on just to clean everything up. So I tighten that screw up. Now that's back in place. And then I'm going to add a small amount of Labelle 106 grease to that gear on the axle down there, because I've cleaned all the old lubrication out, as I said before. So a small amount of Labelle 106 down there on the gear train. Very, very small amount. This is the idler gear that I mentioned earlier. This is not cracked at all, which is a nice change. A lot of these break on Hornby models, but this one's in very good condition. And I do like this when a model's been stripped right down. Rebuilding it as the parts pile diminishes, it's a nice feeling when you rebuild things like this. This is the gearbox cover. The old oil and grease was all cleaned out of this. Again with a cotton bit of methylated spirits. And there was a lot of it in there, along with some old black slime and some shaves of plastic. I don't know where they came from. And the pickup wires also passed through this. So they were slid up through the die-cast part like that. And then just before I cover the gearbox up, another small smidge of Labelle 106 on the idler gear. Now that may like a lot, and people comment, oh, you put too much grease on there. I really haven't. You know, I know what I'm doing with this. And I also put a small drop of oil on the axle for the gear, because it spins. It's a metal axle for the gear that spins in the metal frame, so it needs a bit of lubrication. And that oil will work its way into the grease and will dilute the grease somewhat and help it spread. So there's the pickup wires sitting through. I've not left myself a lot there to solder with, to be honest. We've jumped forward a bit now, and the motor's in place, as is the DCC decoder. Now the original DCC ready gubbins I got rid of because the wiring and the actual DCC socket was damaged. And you can see there the rear motor mount was actually bent, so I've had to shape that back into place, or back into shape, to hold the motor in place. There's the old DCC socket, and that I'm going to bin that. That's no good. But Neil wanted this DCC fitted so that he hadn't got to take it apart again when he got it back. So I reshaped the rear motor plate and soldered the TCS decoder in there. And putting the body shell back on, it clips in from the rear and is screwed at the front. TCS decoders support DC. So a quick battery test and making sure that the motor's engaged correctly proves that everything's working, which is good news. So having the loco back in the cradle, the front pony wheel was then replaced on the front. This was after securing the loco and chassis together with the securing screw. And then it was time to turn my attention to the tender. Now, testing it, the middle axles weren't picking up any power. So I'm going to I've removed the base plate and removing the axles. Now I'm going to clean the axles, the wheels and the pickups on the tender, so that this model is picking up from all 12 wheels as it should do. Picks up from 6 on the tender and 6 on the loco. And there was quite a bit of dirt on the tender wheels and pickups. They were a lot dirtier than the loco wheels were. I think some of this though may have been overspray from when the model was weathered. The wheels on the tender hadn't been cleaned correctly, and there was quite a lot of brown paint on the wheel treads. So once everything was cleaned, the wheels were clipped back in, making sure that the pickups were all making correct contact with the wheel backs. And the Royal Scot was then tested on the bench. This is DC with a 9-volt battery. It's a little bit jerky because the battery is dying. I need to invest in a new one. And the new cylinders stand out, as does the nameplate that Neil fitted. I need to weather these both back in, which I will have done by the time you see it running on the layout. So there we go. We've managed to rebuild this rebuilt Royal Scot from a bag of bits to a lovely looking model. And the weathering job on this is really nice, apart from this cylinder that I've got to touch in. I actually like this. And the Royal Scot is an engine I've been after for a while. I don't actually have a Royal Scot in my collection. I don't know why. I've got a Jubilee and several Black 5s, but I've never had a Royal Scot. And they are handsome looking engines with the smoke deflectors at the front. If you've got an engine or anything you'd like to see repaired, DCC fitted, or if you wish to make a donation to the channel, please email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com. Have a look again, it's sent over, and who knows, it may even feature in an episode all of its own. So I'll leave you now with some shots of Neil's Royal Scot doing a few laps of my layout on a rake of Mark 1s before I send it back to him. Thank you so much for watching Trash to Track again. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye for now.